Let's now talk with State Representative LaShawn Ford as lawmakers prepare to head back to Springfield. You got both the House and the Senate in session. So always good to talk with Representative Ford, a Democrat out of Chicago. Thank you for taking time with us. And I take it you'll be heading south, or are you already in town? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Bishop. Yes, in town. I'm already south from the north.
Right on. Well, we'll have to get you back in studio here soon. If I knew you were in town, I would have said, hey, come on back out here. So I thought you might have been traveling. Either way, thank you for taking time. Tons to get to. Before we talk about the case that's involving the ComEd 4, we were just talking about the ban on semi-automatic weapons and the current status where you've got a stack of lawsuits in state court, you've got a stack of lawsuits in federal court. How confident are you that the bill that you supported is going to sustain a constitutional challenge in the judiciary?
Well, I think that first we have to recognize that me as a Democrat and someone that recognizes that we have a problem in America with guns being used to kill people in mass numbers. And our constituents called for us to do something. And as legislators, you have to respond. You can't sit idly by. So I'm confident that we did the right thing by addressing the issue as a legislative body. And that's all we could do as a legislative body. And then it goes to the courts if there's a lawsuit, and that's where it's at now. I'm confident that Illinois Supreme Court would probably see it the way that majority of Illinoisans feel about getting a handle on the gun crisis that we're seeing in Illinois. Now, of course, I'm no fool. People say guns don't kill, people do. But I do know that we have to recognize that there's something staring us in our face every day, and we need to address it. And that is how so many people are being killed with guns because of mental health problems or just trauma that they're facing. We have to address it. And I think that having a balance between the courts and the legislature, I believe we'll get where we need to be sooner or later.
So is that sooner or later aspect here, is there anything to do in the immediate that doesn't have to wait months for people wrangling about what is considered a civil right and what is not considered a civil right when it comes to what types of weapons the government says that they can or cannot use to defend themselves as per the Second Amendment? What else can be done except for focusing on the device, right? You talked about mental health. There's other criminality. You've also got the Safety Act, that the no cash bail provision. There's still a lot of contention about that. How do we get to the question of addressing violence without getting mired down in lawsuits and people arguing about what is their civil right and what isn't?
Yeah, I think that, one, you have to be equitable in funding of programs. And you have areas in the state where you see gun violence almost non-existent. And you look at the economic status of those communities. You look at the school structure in those communities. You look at the unemployment rate. And we have to model that in every community across the state if we want to get to a safer state. In the meantime, if you have communities that struggle from high unemployment and communities that struggle from trauma, and they have this thing called a gun, then I think that you're going to have problems. And it's not so much that it's the guns that's causing the problems, but it is society that's causing pressures on people that we have to address. And I think the NRA should be a friend to society and have discussions with legislatures, and legislators should have discussions with the NRA so that we could get to a solution. And as long as we continue to fight amongst each other and not willing to talk to one another and figure out solutions, then it's us against them. And that's not going to work. It never does. A house divided,
It won't stand. State Representative LaShawn Ford with us on WMAY. So I appreciate you chiming in on some of those issues. Let's talk now about just a few of these headlines out of Chicago. Federal court. Madigan ruled through fear and intimidation. ComEd bribery trial, jurors told. You've got another headline here. Madigan held total control over Illinois House, lawmaker tells jury. You had several former state lawmakers already testify, Lou Lang being one of them, but you had another one of your colleagues that's currently in the General Assembly testify yesterday, Bob Rita. Your reaction to all of this, and have things changed at the State House? What lessons have been learned since the Madigan era of how he used politics?
Well, I got to tell you, I would say, thank God I'm not asked to testify. I don't want anything to do with those people. And so God bless all the people that have to go into that room and testify. But things have changed. Things have changed a great deal. I mean, we have Speaker Welch. He's a very smart person. He understands where we come from. And he understands that we don't want to go back to a process where one person rules the process. But, and I think that he's a collaborator. Speaker Welch is a collaborator. He works with his caucus, and he does everything to get input and consensus on issues. And I think that to speak to the previous speaker, Madigan, he worked for consensus too, but there was a point where there were some things that he probably just persuaded and wanted to happen because it was, in his estimation, time for it to happen. But this trial, I tell you, is a lesson for this speaker and this legislature. And I think that it's on the top of mind, I should say, of all of us. And it's real life experience being played out to teach all of us a lesson.
Representative, have you been asked to testify at all? Do you have any stories of Madigan, through his agents who may have been assigned things, talking to you to try to persuade you to go one way or the other at the legislature?
No, I think that, and it's good you asked that question because I've never been in a position of intimidation by the previous speaker, Madigan. And, there were things that I would not vote for. And, he tried to get me to vote for. For instance, I refused to vote for the pension bill that diminished the pension of teachers. Speaker Madigan wanted me to vote for that, and he tried to persuade me in every way possible. And I said no, but he didn't intimidate me. But I got to tell you, it was one of the best bills that I think I held my ground and stood firm and supported the teachers and the state workers as it relates to protecting their pensions.
Representative, we are up against a break. However, I've got some time on the other side. Can you stick around until the top
Absolutely.
of the hour? Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, stay with us. We're talking with State Representative LaShawn Ford, getting a bit of a reaction of some of the top issues of the day, but also I want to hear from him a bit of a preview of what to expect this week as the legislature is back in session. So stay tuned. We'll get to more with State Representative LaShawn Ford here on WMA. Back with our conversation, talking live here with State Representative LaShawn Ford as we get ready for the state legislature to get back into full swing of things. Of course, they have until mid-May. That's when scheduled session is to adjourn. But May 31st is really kind of that cutoff for them to pass bills with a simple majority. Democrats have the supermajority. So crafting a budget, you can imagine they'll get that together, but we'll watch that closely. Representative Ford, you have a series of bills that have gotten a lot of attention, including the bill to allow for psilocybin mushrooms to be used in a therapeutic setting. That was the first House bill filed, HB 1. But you've also had other bills that have gotten some attention, including one that would fine parents for bullying their children in public. Talk about those two bills and a third bill about safe drug use sites. What are you expecting with some of these bills this week and the weeks ahead?
Well, I think that we got to make sure we get the wording right. So I would tell you that the bill for parental bullying is not for parents disciplining their children in public spaces. It is cyberbullying. And that's what it's about. It's about parents that actually discipline and post their, discipline ways on social media. For instance, they've had teenagers actually commit suicide as a result of the treatment that the parents displayed on social media. And so you're right. There has been some confusion about how the bill is drafted, and we're working on the language so that it's more precise and gets at cyberbullying. Because, as you know, you read in many instances that children have committed suicide as a result of being bullied on the internet.
Well, no, I appreciate that clarity, and yeah, that's something that definitely would make a difference there. How about the safe sites for drug use?
Yeah, and so it's overdose prevention sites, and what they are, it's what we're trying to do is House Bill number 2, and it's not just about going to use a substance. It's a healthcare setting where people with substance use disorders or people that have mental health challenges, people that may be homeless, and people that may be unemployed, people that may be experiencing domestic violence or some type of violence in their life. These sites will help them with resources. It's a wraparound program where people can also go and use drugs that's probably, some people say is something that we should not be doing, but it's a situation in Illinois and all over the world where people are dying of overdoses from heroin laced with fentanyl. And so the question is, do we continue to watch people die on the street and say, no better for you? You should get your life together. And do we continue to see our streets littered with needles, or do we set up a place where we can help people? Our society should be a place and a setting where we are about helping people and not dehumanizing them. We have
Representative,
to help them.
Sadly, that's all the time we've got. We will have to connect again soon to talk about those bills and more as we watch the legislature continue throughout the spring session. Greatly appreciate it. We'll see you soon, all right?
Bye-bye.
Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY. It's now 7 o'clock.
From the Fly SPI Studios, take the easy way out.